the champ of the mic on tonight. With a mind so slick and a suit so clean, he's running this ring like a wrestling machine. From gold-plated deals to jaw-dropping schemes, he's the mastermind of your wildest dreams. Stand up, take note, bow down if you can. It's the Brilliant Show with the Brilliant One. He's the man.
Welcome into the Brilliant Show. We got a very special guest. And I'm sure that he don't want to hear this, but he is a legend. One of the best to ever do it. And I've enjoyed every match that I've ever seen him in. I'm going to bring up several matches that I want to, that I saw that he was in that I just thought were absolutely fantastic. We're going to bring in Steve Anthony in just a second. But before we do, let me say this. If you can't watch us live and you want to check us out on podcast platforms, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, Audible, and all major podcast platforms. Make sure you give us that 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Also, check us out on Brainbuster Tees and get you the Brilliant Show shirt. This right there. Go check it out, Brainbuster Tees. The link is in the description. And we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch right now. Let's welcome in our guest, the great Steve Anthony. What's going on, Steve?
Man, Brilliant One. I almost didn't recognize you. Where's the outlandish suits, man? I mean, come on. What are you doing?
You got to put it on sometimes. I usually wear the suits, but I had to support the merch. Got to try to sell some T-shirts. You know what I mean?
Always trying to make $1. Man.
Hey, that's the way you got to do it.
That's why I can't let you manage. That's why I can't let you manage me. You try to take all my money from me.
Well, I'm going to just say this. I couldn't take all your money. And I couldn't take all your style either, man. I couldn't take none of your shine. You would outshine me out there. So I wouldn't even be known. They wouldn't even see my bright suit.
Hell, man, we'd both be broke if you took all my money.
But, man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Really excited about this, man. And finally, after all this time, I get to be on one of your shows, man. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's an honor to have you. I don't know if you've seen a few weeks ago, me and Monty Warbucks was talking about you and just talking about the top talent around the area. And Steve Anthony is the tippy top around this area. And I just don't know how you do it, man. You found the fountain of youth. Like you're just killing it out there, man.
Quite. Yeah, man, I don't know. I guess sometimes I don't even think about it until, my family says, Dad, that was just crazy. You did this, you do that. And, I start thinking about how long I've been doing this, my age, and I still feel good, man. So I can still go out there and perform it. And that's why I still do it. When it comes time, I'm going to know, and I won't disappoint fans. I'll ride off in the sunset. Maybe. I might get me one of those suits, borrow one of them suits for you and start managing people at that point.
Yeah. Hey, anytime you get ready to get one of them suits, you just let me know you got it. And speaking of how long you've been, what year did you start? Like, what year was it your first match?
So first match, I know it was in 91, but man, I still remember my first day of actual legit wrestling training, June 27th, 1991. A good friend of my dad's actually got me started, broke me in, and gave me my bases. He wrestled as Chief Little Bear. Stanley Knockhand was his name. He was trained by Boris Malenko, the father of Dean Malenko. So, yep, June 27, 1991. And I want to say probably first match was maybe 6 months after that. Was I ready? Wow. Hell no. Still not ready, but yeah.
Well, you can never learn everything about wrestling, no matter how long you've been in the business. You learn something new every day when you step in the ring or around the business any way, shape, or form.
No. And in the best as I can do the Harley Race voice, he once told me, kid, when you stop learning, it's time to get out. And he's so right, man. You learn every day. Some things you learn what to do, and then you watch it other things, learning what not to do. So,
yeah, that's true. Let me ask you this: you said Harley Race. We got to go there. What was it like being around him? I mean, that is a legit, just legend all over.
yeah. Believe it or not, I'm pretty shy, low key person. So when I first met Harley, first time I met him, I actually did one of his camps. He used to run a big camp around like the fall time, August, September, and he would have Japanese representatives, WWE, WCW, just the who's who of wrestling. They'd send representatives to scout talent, and my first interaction with him, I introduced myself to him, but I can remember we were doing drills and like 5-minute matches, and I remember taking a standing suplex. I took the suplex, and then I hear him just scream at the top of his lungs to stop. I'm like, oh God, what did we just do? Me and the guy I'm in the ring, what did we just do? And he's like, I want you guys to do that again. And we did it again. And like, it was just a moment of, oh my God, all eyes are on me. Cause he put the way that we'd done the suplex, took the bump and just everything about it over so big. And then, from there, we kind of got to talking, and it was weird, man, just unbelievable sitting there talking to the greatest wrestler on God's green earth. But, as time went on, it got more of a father-son relationship. So I really, really miss him and looked up to him for sure.
Harley was, I mean, you look back at it, NWA World Heavyweight Champion, King of the Ring in WWE, managed Vader in WCW. Like, he did every aspect of it, and that's why he's one of the best of all time with that. And getting into the 1991 start, I had John Saxton on a few weeks ago, and I was just asking him what's the difference between the independent scene in the 90s and what's the difference between that and now. What's your thoughts on it?
Man, the business in a whole is just so different, and I know I'm waiting. We're going to see the comments. Everybody's going to have a comment about it.
Now, speaking of John Saxton, he says, "What's up?"
What's up, my brother? I'm going to go and I'm going to say this, and it's not going to sit well with people, but the biggest difference to me is the respect for the business. And the people that followed it. You can tell me all day the old timers are just bitter, they're whatever. No, they still care. I've had people kind of hate on me because I'll get online and just say like, what is this crap? What are you guys doing? And it's just because we care. Your body takes such a beating as it is, just from the bumps and the car rides and everything. To see what some of the guys are doing now, it's just crazy. Look, it's phenomenal stuff, but it's just not what I grew up on. And look, vanilla and chocolate, as Les Thatcher used to say, between him and Tom Pritchard, I like vanilla, he likes chocolate. There's a lot of right ways to do stuff, but man, there's a lot of wrong ways also. And I'm seeing more and more wrong ways, and that loss of respect and not just respect for the business, but respect for the hardworking, paying fans, because they get insulted in so many different ways these days. I find it's just unreal. Look, you might have seen it. I posted something on my page this morning, just scrolling. I try to scroll, every couple of days, and first thing I look at it's this 2 indie guys. The dude climbs up on the second rope like he's going to give the guy the Big 10 punches, right? No, what does he do? He takes a whiz in the dude's face. I'm like, bro, really?
Oh, yes, I did see that. I saw that too.
Where are we going? I mean, you've got families that are sitting in the crowd with their children. Now, a mom and dad has to explain this to a child. It's uncalled for. It's beyond cheap heat, and and that's what I mean between the respect. It's the respect for the business, the respect for the fans, and respect for yourself, man.
It really is. Let's see. I remember Steve and Barrett Brown popping in on Les Thatcher seminar and made us all look bad during triple fives,
Oh,
and they
they
were
will
not
gas
gassed at
you
all.
out. Yep. They will gas you out.
Well, you talk about the respect, and that is it. It was a lot harder to get into it back when you started.
It
You couldn't
was.
just walk in and pay money to be in a wrestling school. It just didn't work that way.
No.
And you talk about the respect. You want to bring up the peeing. I saw that, and I went right on past it. But I was sitting there thinking, like you talk about that Joey Ryan, all these other guys that do some stuff that really don't have to have that gimmick. And but the independent scene now is just, I hate to say this. I'm going to say it, and it's going to sound great. I think sometimes the guys in the ring want to pop the boys in the back more than they do the crowd.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. And look, I'll be honest. I was the guy that had to go out and for a long time have the match of the night and just do everything. It didn't matter where I was on the card, and it took a minute, but I started to really figure it out that it's not about me. It's for one, it's about the fans, right? Two, and it's about the whole show, and everybody needs a chance to shine. Now, I'm not saying that guys shouldn't have to step up and work hard and go out, in every match and work hard and have a good match. But there's a show has to build, right? Just like a match has to build. And I know it's modern generation and times have changed, but from the era that I grew up watching, the guys that were in your main event were the guys that were bringing in the house, right? Making the money. So it was respect to those guys. And I still feel if a promoter has a main event, there's a reason he's counting on these guys. So, man, give those guys that opportunity. I know I'm kind of going off key here, but I don't want to get on a soapbox. But that question I just answered, I can sit here all night and just talk about.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I can too. I mean, I know you're feeling all that. I like everything to make sense, and a lot of things that are done now just have no rhyme or reason. They don't make sense at all how they do it. Let's see here. Jason Heimel says he is one of the best in the ring. What's up, my brother? To you, Steve. And I'm going to just say this, man. Like, you are one of the best in the ring. There's no doubt. You've been all over the world. You've wrestled some great matches. I saw you wrestle. One of my favorite matches to ever see you wrestle was against Roderick Strong. I thought you two tore the house down in that match. I can go back and watch that match anytime, and it never gets old to me. What was it like being in, and that was a young Roderick Strong too.
Yeah.
So how was it like being in the ring with him and y'all just going toe to toe like that?
Yeah, that night was kind of, really special for me. For one, I grew up, of course, being an NWA fan more so than the WWF days, but and JJ Dillon, was my manager that night. And, here I am with Roderick Strong. And I had mixed feelings at first because, of course, just kind of like we were talking before we kicked off the show, you hear different things about people, right? But I learned in this business, just because he says, she said about one person, you can't take that because everybody treats everybody different, right? But man, me and Roger, we hit it off. Yes, he's hard hitting, and so was I. Everything he gave me, I gave it back to him. But it's look like being in the ring with a John Saxon. No matter how many times we wrestled each other, we never had that bad match. And I promise you, Roderick was one of those guys for me. We just clicked. There's a few guys I'm like that with. Look, Anthony Green that night, never met the guy. I got in the ring with him. We clicked. Caleb Conley's another one. I mean, there's many guys, but Roderick, it was special, man. It really was. So it was approving for me,
Oh, exactly. And I mean, like I said, I still go back and watch it now. Like if I'm just wanting to see a good wrestling match, I go back and watch it. I go back and watch a lot of your matches. Period. Stephen Dixon says, what are some of your favorite feuds over your career?
Well, me and John Saxon have had many.
I was wanting to know about Saxon a little bit.
Man, look, he's been my big bro. Him definitely one. Vordell Walker, another one. Bro, God, I've been doing this too long. There's been many, man, many guys that I've so called feuded with over the years that hold special memories, man.
Vordell.
But those two definitely stick out.
Vordell, man, you just got to be a special kind of person to get in the ring with him, period. I mean,
Yeah.
Vordell is a monster. And
Yep. He will test your win. He will test your physical ability and everything else that goes with it, as well as your mental ability.
Oh, the mental ability for sure. You know, my wife is a big wrestling fan, and she's always been. I mean, she used to cry at the TV because she thought Mean Gene Okerlund was her dad because they looked just like each other. So when she was a little girl, she would go to the TV.
Wait a minute, your wife's bald?
No. My wife's not bald. Mom. That's a good one though. That was a good one. I liked it. I had to tell her that, but anyway. But she's always been a wrestling fan, and one night Koloff was taking on Vordell Walker in a street fight. And she's like, I can always look and tell where they're going. She says, when I looked at Vordell that night, I moved the merch table because I did not know where he was going. I said, nobody ever does. I said, he just goes where he wants to. And that was
when that switch goes off, bro, good luck turning it back on. And you're right, you don't know what's gonna happen.
And that's like, and I'll say this, Josh Newell, one of my favorite people. He gave me a lot of advice over the years. And I remember very well him telling Vordell several times, stay in the ring. Stay in the ring. I said, don't tell him, and he won't go outside the ring. I said, but when you tell him, that's just like a challenge to Vordell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Them two have battled on so many nights about that one subject, stay in the ring. And I'm the same way. Why do you even tell him?
Yeah.
You're better off not even saying, not even wasting your energy. Just if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You're not going to stop it.
Exactly. Well, look at this. Steve, you versus APOC, a huge feud in BIW. It ended with a shocking event. Feel like talking about that match. Let me just say this. I was a part of that match, that last match in Brookhaven. And I've never been hit so hard in my life. I wonder, well, why did you hit me so hard, Steve? I was just going out there to tell the truth. They had stole my shirt and tried to pretend to be a ref, and then you got mad because the match got restored.
It's been so long. My memory, I really don't know. Too many concussions, I guess.
But
yeah, that match caused a damn near riot, man.
Yep.
But not only in the arena area, but also in the back. But yeah, look, just like you say, Vordell's got that switch. I've got that switch too, man. And sometimes my mind just goes places that it probably shouldn't go. That was one of those nights.
It sure was. And it was, I'm going to just tell you, it was one of the most eventful nights I've ever had at the ring, behind the curtain, and everywhere else. It was just an eventful night all over. And I'll remember that because I remember when you clotheslined me and I went out, and I thought security would come help me up, but they didn't. And I remembered that, Angel Camacho was in the ring because I heard him. And I look up, trying to hold my neck up because I was hurting so bad. I look up and I see him coming over the top of me. And I barely rolled in just enough to miss Angel Camacho coming over that top rope.
Good thing, because that could have been a little not so good for you.
We wouldn't have been here talking right now.
No, we probably wouldn't. He's got a few pounds on him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. And I also reffed him in Vordell's match. And let me tell you something, man. That was a hard-hitting match. They just beat the hell out of each other. And it's just like I tell everybody this, and I talked to John Ginger Griffin, says, hey, Steve, who
Miss Ginger.
who has brought me back to wrestling. She brought you back to wrestling. She's a great fan. She's always at the BIW shows. I see her here
Oh
and
yeah.
there. She's always
She
giving me
was
hell.
she was the only fan Steve Anthony had whenever I was doing stuff like that to APOC.
Yeah, poor old APOC. But those were some good matches. I do want to ask you about something though, because we're coming up on it, and I just kind of want to dive into it. BIW's coming to Brookhaven, June 7th, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got a match with Rob Love, a dog collar match. Only the second dog collar match in the history of BIW. And if you win, the group you created, Southern Royalty, has to disband.
That's right.
But if you lose, you become Rob Love's bitch.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see that happening. I'm nobody's bitch, especially Rob Love. You know, I created the Rob Love, you know, Southern Royalty. That's a really sore subject for me. But yeah, he's through every roadblock. Anthony Green was the last roadblock, and you saw how that went down. That didn't work so well for it, and did it. But now he can't run. It's me and him, a dog collar match, and I'm not stupid. I know Rob. Rob will pull every little trick in the book. Every member of the new Southern Royalty, if you will, they'll be in the building. But you know what? The teacher never teaches the students everything. So, Rob, I may have a few little tricks up my sleeve too.
Well, here's the thing. When you ran Southern Royalty, you had Rob Love in there for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, you don't always teach the student everything you know. You teach him everything you want him to know. And I know how smart of a man you are. But I also got to say this, Rob Love's very, very cunning himself. And I don't know if he lets you know everything about him either. So it could be a very interesting match.
Yeah, he doesn't let me know everything, but you know what? I'm always studying. I'm always watching. And I got a lot of people I know. I'm the king. I'm moving the chess pieces. You know, Southern Royalty was basically created to make sure I stayed BIW champion for as long as I wanted to. And the guys that I had that let the ball slip that night. Why? Because they were off too busy doing other things and then not doing what they were supposed to do. Hell, I'd probably still be BIW champion if it wasn't for the mistakes that they made. But hey, it's you know, spilt milk now. We're not going to sit here and cry over it. But Southern Royalty was never supposed to get as evil as Rob created to be. If I can say anything, maybe I underestimated him in that sense. I knew he was evil, and I knew he would go places that I needed him to go, but I didn't think he would get as evil as he did. But you know, money and power will change a man.
It really will. I mean, but Rob Love really didn't express the evilness that has come out over the last year with Southern Royalty either. Ray Fury, another great talent on the Gulf Coast and just taking the storm. He says Anthony Green, Steve Anthony was fired. Yes, it was. It was absolutely phenomenal. There's been a lot of matches.
Was it Ray? Was it fire or was it like fire yeet?
You gotta keep that yeet down, you know.
Yeah, we might get in trouble for that, Ray.
Oh man, hey, Ray's coming up next Tuesday. Ray will be on here next Tuesday, so get that. Let's see what Steve Dixon had to say. Who would you like to go up against in the future that you haven't been in the ring with yet?
Man, you know, there's so many new talent. You know, I took a 3-year. I hate to say the word retirement, but I was just burnt out, bitter, and you know, I went away for 3 years. So in that time, so much new talent came through, man, and there's a handful of guys. that I'd like to see what I could do with. Look, speaking of new guys, he's not a new guy, but it's going to be a first time for me. This guy's been around me forever, and we've never stepped in the ring, and we will here June 21st in Panama City. Sigmund, I'm sure you know
Oh,
Sigmund.
yes.
Yeah,
I saw that. I was going to ask him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. To finally get to go one-on-one with Sigmund.
Well, I think have you faced Vladimir Koloff yet? I think you've had a match with him.
Yes, yeah.
I thought so. That's my client, one of my clients, and I've been around him for many years. I've seen him grow. I've seen him evolve.
Yeah, he has, man. He's really grown. I saw him on a show here just recently, a couple weeks ago, and just kind of passed on some words to him. But yeah, man, just keep an eye on him. I think he'll do great things. He's put so much work into his body, into his wrestling ability. So yeah, he's trying. He really is.
Oh, he has transformed. Him and Alexander Hammerstone had a hell of a match back in September of 2023 that was just unbelievable. And I always had my faith in him, and I've always thought he's good. Another guy I always had my faith in, and his thought is just really phenomenal and got potential. He's got TV written all over him. And that's Simon Phillips.
Yeah. I've actually I had a chance to wrestle him for 225. Yeah, man. He's going to be another one to keep an eye on.
He definitely is. And now when we look back, like we talked about Bordell, we talked about, APOC, you having the feud with APOC. I want to know about this because I'm a big Japanese wrestling fan. Like I was tape trading back in the day to get New Japan Pro Wrestling tapes, All Japan, all that. What was it like? When was your first trip to Japan, and what was that culture like? And like having a match over there, because I know that was unbelievable.
So first tour of Japan was actually for Pro Wrestling Noah. Yes. Harley helped me get there, and man, it was different, and I'm not afraid to say, you.
Hold on, Steve. You broke up just a second. Hold on. I think Steve froze up just a second, so hold on. We're gonna try to get him back on here. Okay. All right, you're back.
I got you.
Right,
yeah, we cut out. We're going through some nasty weather right now. It might have been on my end.
Yeah.
But when you and you get there and you think you did what you needed to do, but it's a little while after you realize, man, I wasn't ready for that. Looking back now, I can honestly say I'm blessed. I'm thankful I had a great experience, but I wasn't ready. But very different culture. Pro Wrestling Noah was still at the time kind of like the old Japanese wrestling as far as the fan base. They were paying attention to everything. They would get excited for certain things, but very different than American style wrestling. Now, when I went to New Japan, which was quite a few years later, 2017 was my first trip there. Very different, more Americanized, more vocal, into everything. So yeah, for sure.
Now, 2017 would have been around the time the Kenny Omega stuff was really kicking off over there, and Okada was, starting. Was it around? No, that may have been a year or so later, but it was around Okada and them being king back in that time.
We're back on?
Yeah, we're back on now.
Okay.
I was just saying back in 17 was like when Okada and Omega and all of them were really
Yeah. So AJ was heading up the Bullet Club, which big shout out to AJ. He was one of the guys that kind of gave me the thumbs up when the office asked about me because I wrestled him just prior to that tour in Arkansas for TCW actually. So he gave me the thumbs up. But yeah, AJ was running the Bullet Club, but Kenny was there, and yeah, man, things were really hot in 2017.
Yeah, 2017, I think I think it was around 2016, 17 when New Japan really picked up back up steam because they lost a lot of steam for about almost a decade there for a while.
Yeah. Look, Pro Wrestling Noah was the deal for a long time, man.
Yeah, it was, and everything, but like just wrestling over in Japan, the different culture. How long was your tour over there? How long did you stay?
So the Noah tours were like 3.5, 4 weeks, and then when I started in New Japan, it was part of the NWA. So I was just going basically for the big shows, in a few days, a week, whatever, and then right back home.
Hey, that's still fun, and I've always wanted to go to Japan. I've been to several different countries, but Japan's never been one that I've been to.
Just beautiful, man. Beautiful, clean culture, friendly people. I had no negative experiences there whatsoever in the ring or in public.
One of my wife's, one of the girls she graduated with, one of her best friends, her husband was stationed over in Japan. And she was just telling me, she's like, yeah, Brennan would love it over here. She's like, he would just love to be over here. She's like, because all I've seen is wrestling stuff. The place is beautiful, and it's the type of food he eats anyway. So he'd be just at home here. So we talk about that. Now I got to get into this because we did talk about Roderick Strong, and if I'm not mistaken, that was an NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship match.
Yep.
And you've had, winning the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship in itself is a great accomplishment. But you also beat Jushin Liger Thunder Liger for that title, which is another bona fide legend in this business all over the world. What was being in the ring with him like? What was the interaction like? Did he speak English very well?
Yeah, enough that we got by. Man, we were talking when we first started just about guys that, feuds and guys that I clicked with. And he was just one of those guys. And I guess it's just because he was so good, man, that was just a great night in itself. I won the NWA belt, junior belt against Jushin Liger, hell of a match. In Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Club with the legends around. Harley's there, man. It was just dream come true, man. I've always, loved watching Liger, respected him, and to finally be in the ring with him, and then to be the person that he was, yeah, and still is, just super nice guy, man.
Yeah, that match was great as well, and like you just said, it was in front of a lot of people that you respected, that you grew up watching probably, and then you had Harley there who just meant the world to you. That had to mean a lot right there.
Oh yeah, man, look, that whole week before, I don't think I really ate because my stomach was just in knots, just every emotion was just running through me. But it was crazy because up until that bell rung, man, I was still having all those, oh my God, the hold up, the nervous peas and everything. But when the bell rang and it was time to go, it just, we clicked and everything rolled.
It really did. And like I said, I enjoyed the match. And when we get into some other stuff with the NWA, the junior heavyweight, you held the, if I'm not mistaken, you held the tag team titles as well. Or was it? No, it was the television championship in the NWA. You held the World League Wrestling. What was World League Wrestling like?
So, man, and look, you'll get comments on it, but Harley, that belt was a legit world title. It was worn by guys like Rick Steiner, Morishima. It traveled the world, and in Harley's mind, that was the equivalent of the NWA World Belt because it started as World Legion Wrestling, him, Dave Marquez, and a few other guys, and then Harley took over and changed it to World League Wrestling when things split off between all those guys. But look, it's no secret, we know how things work in wrestling. but just for Harley to have faith to put that title on me said a lot, you know.
Oh, it definitely, did. And then, you've been the only BIW Southern heavyweight champion twice.
Yep.
And you took over that. You took the the WLW heavyweight championship, the tag team championships. You've had the Lone Star heavyweight championship from the NWA. I mean, you've just been draped in gold your entire career. And Steve Dixon had something to say that I was going to ask. I'm going to let him go ahead and ask this one. What wrestler or wrestlers inspired you to get into wrestling the most?
So like I said, I broke in at 91, and here's the thing. I was 14 years old. So at that point in my life, like, I just love wrestling, to say, like, I know some guys like this one guy inspired me the most. It wasn't just one guy. It was just wrestling in a whole, man. I fell in love with everything about it. So there's no really one wrestler. Look, I grew up loving the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, guys like that. I love those styles. But yeah, I just love wrestling in general.
Well, that's what inspires everybody. That's what I say when that's the perfect way to say it. It's not a wrestler that inspired me. It's the wrestling that inspired me.
Yeah, man. I was a fan of Mid-South and NWA more so than anything. I love the Jake the Snakes, the Jim Duggins, Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA. It was just a bunch of guys that inspired me. Like I said, it's just wrestling in a whole.
So 1991, then we fast forward a little bit. When was your first time that you ever did any kind of extra work or anything with WWE or WWF?
Man, I don't remember dates and years, but it was quite a while because I broke in it so young, so small, so I was limited on what I could do and where I could go. Legally, they hid me under a mask for many years. Trying to hide me from the commissions in the states that had commissions. But man, it had to be early or maybe mid 2005-ish or somewhere like that.
Oh, it was a good era of it.
And look, I'm not saying that's exactly right, but I'd say somewhere in there.
Well, what was your experiences like doing extra work with WWE or any company that you did extra work with that was on a different level from the independent scene?
Oh, I mean, you saw how things should run. For one, you learned the right way to do things and production wise, and then you learn working with cameras and being in the right place at the right time. You definitely learn that, but you also learn where you were on the totem pole of professional wrestling too. So yeah, you didn't get to go in the men's locker room. Now you got the broom closet today, my brother. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's the way best things work. John says he was the Southern Patriot when we met. Southern Patriot. Tell us a little bit about Southern Patriot.
Oh man, well, Southern Patriot was one of those mask gimmicks I had to kind of hide behind because I was so young. I think when I was doing that, I maybe was 16. So. And I can say it now, it was no big deal, but here I am, a professional wrestler. I'm still in high school playing high school sports. Heaven forbid they'd have found out that, I'm playing high school sports and getting paid as a professional. They'd lock me up and threw away the key probably back in those days.
Well, I definitely want to get to your sports deal here in just a second, but Brimstone just brought up a name that always liked as well. Chad Cheatham versus Steve Anthony was always fire. Chad, man, another great guy. Another great guy.
Another feud that I really enjoyed back in the UCW days. Yeah, man, Chad was a big help of grooming me, man, and he didn't know it and I didn't know it, but we kind of groomed each other. But yeah, good old Chad Cheatham.
Yeah, old Chad's great. Brimstone says Brimstone versus Steve Anthony would also be fire. Hey, there's a matchup that hasn't happened that could possibly happen. Brimstone versus Steve Anthony.
We gotta start getting some of these cheap promoters off a little bit of money, man, and make that happen.
Exactly. So talking about high school sports, what was your top sports in high school?
You know, I played football, a little bit of baseball, but the thing that I enjoy the most, and because it was a challenge to me, and I'll say like John Saxon, I haven't always been the best team player, but I ran track. I actually pole vaulted. I was a pole vaulter, man, and
Wow.
many championships, districts and states. As a pole vaulter. So yeah, it was.
That's not easy. That's not easy at all right there.
No, I've always kind of lived on the edge a little bit. Yeah. I like to fly high.
Hey, that's the way to do it. So like when you were in high school and competing, like today's sports, as I've noticed, because I played football, played basketball, played baseball when I was in high school. And what I've noticed, the difference, like we was talking about 91 independent wrestling and now is different. Talk about, let's see, 99 sports. When I was playing high school sports in 99, 98, 99, it's totally different from today. Like, I think that my class would kill some of these classes coming up today. I think the participation trophy, everybody's got to be in the playoffs. It was an honor to get into the playoffs when I was in high school. Now it's like, oh, everybody gets in there. Oh, we lose in the first round. No, it's just
no.
They've spoiled it because you're supposed to earn that playoff. I mean, we fought hard for that playoff spot, and now it's just given to you.
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. Look, without pissing off a whole lot of people and getting into politics, the world softened. It softened a lot. Coaches can't coach the way they did. And look, granted, there's a reason because some guys took it to the extreme and got abusive with it. So I completely get that, man. Anybody that's been bullied like that, I feel bad for. But look, at a high school level, you're becoming a young man, right?
Yep.
You hear language and you talk to your peers rough. Look, there's nothing wrong with a coach getting on your butt a little bit, man, and toughening you up, and because all it does is it gets you ready for the real world. Because I'm sorry, you ain't getting no participation trophy in the real world. You're gonna get your ass handed to you is what's gonna happen. So, I think that's what's lost in sports today, in a whole, not just high school, but man, just toughen up a little bit. Ass whooping ain't never hurt nobody.
Nope. And ass whoopings is what made you. I'm gonna just say this, and it sounds crazy. My dad, I remember when I was 18, I turned 18. I'd done, got out of school. I was 18. I remember he walked in my room one night. He just said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm good." He says, "All right." He says, college starts in a month. I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "If you're not in college in a month, you need a job." I said, "Okay." He says, "If you don't have a job by September the 10th, I said, "Yes, sir." "You're moving out." I said, "Okay, sure."
Man, your daddy wasn't Mr. Jones from Friday, huh? Around here, you gonna work?
Exactly.
You gonna go to school? You ain't got no job? You ain't going to school? You ain't got no place to live.
Exactly. And, being a dumb kid, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. A month later, September the 10th, he comes in there. He says, I'm getting your stuff and I'm putting it out here. I said, "For what?" He's like, "Because you're moving out." I said, I get a job, Dad. And I got a job because I've had a job during the summer and stuff like that throughout school, but I didn't have one all the time. And then I finally had to get one. And that was, golly, man, I'm going to age myself here. That was, God, 20, 25, 26 years ago. And I've had a job every day of my life since then so far. So,
Yeah, man, it's it's work ethic. This world is going to hand you nothing. You go out, you work for it, you earn it. And earn it honestly. I know at the end of the day, the honest man. It seems like the honest man doesn't win, but as long as I can lay my head on the pillow at night, I've done it the right way. I'm good with that. I might not have the biggest house, the fanciest car, and all the money in the world, but I got peace of mind, and I know everything that I've worked for, I've earned.
Exactly.
I should say I've earned.
Well, exactly, and that's the way I feel. Like, man, I don't need a bunch of money. I just need enough to survive and be happy and have that little bit of peace.
That's it.
Here we go.
Hey, more money, more problems.
Exactly. I can be happy and broke. Frankie Thomas loves Steve Anthony.
I love you, Frank.
Frankie, another great guy who's one of the mainstays in BIW. What's your relationship, and how do you feel about Josh Newell and BIW? Because I know that I look at him as one of the top promotions.
That prick.
Yeah.
No, look, Josh has been so good to me for so long, man. We got a really good relationship. I'm gonna get him in trouble by saying this because if you know Josh, he doesn't talk on the phone. But I promise you, there's two people, and I'm not gonna say the other name, but if I ring his phone, he's gonna answer. But Josh is just super, super cool. And look, man, we've had our knockout arguments, but respectfully, right? Josh came from a background of just being a wrestling fan into a promoter, and got shot down by so many people. They tried to run him out, and he stuck with it with the help of Dr. Death Steve Williams. And what he has created, him and his wife Kristen, is just amazing. It really is. And look, he puts a lot of hours, a lot of work into BIW. It doesn't come easy for him.
It really doesn't, because Josh, to me, and I'm going to sound a little biased when I say this, but Josh taught me a lot. Josh brought me in, let me ref, let me do a lot of different things. But the most important thing Josh let me do was just kind of sit back and listen to everybody talk and learn so much from him. But that promotion has some of the best talent in all of independent wrestling. I look at, like, we got Limitless, you've got Game Changer, if you want to call it that, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. You got all these top promotions. I would even consider MLW one of the top independent promotions. And I put BIW up there against it all.
Oh, man, most definitely. And, quick, funny little story, that relationship with me and Josh may have never happened. And I got to thank him, man, if it wouldn't have been for Luke Hawks. Because just a phone call between Josh and Luke, and Luke actually told Josh, because I think Luke wasn't available for one of Josh's dates. He's like, if you're looking for the best talent in Louisiana, here's a number, and he gave him my number. And so Luke kind of fused that line between me and Josh, man.
All right, man, that's awesome. Speaking of Luke Hawks, Wildcats Pro Wrestling, I mean, it's been around forever. I remember watching Luke Hawks when he was Altar Boy Luke in XPW back in early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, like him and I think it was Altar Boy Matthew or Matt. I can't remember. They were tag champions, and then Luke went on to take on Supreme and the King of the Death matches, and they had just great matches. Give us a little insight. I've never had a conversation with Luke. Never even been around Luke. have not been to a Wildcat show, but I have seen them on.
Oh
you
man,
know,
you should.
many occasions.
They're exciting, man. They really are. The fan base there is just tremendous.
Every time I see it, it's packed out, and just watching Luke, like, what was it like wrestling in Wildcat? Because it looks like a top-notch production when I've seen it on.
Oh yeah, man. You know, Wildcat was another place that I love to wrestle. I always look forward to doing shows there. And who knows, one day I may do another one. But the atmosphere, they had like that kind of cult ECW kind of following, man. You know, it could be really, really good for you, or it could be really, really bad if they didn't like you. And thank God they liked me. But yeah, you know, and me and Luke go back way back. You know, I remember when Luke first broke in, but you know, we've always had, I guess you can call it that kind of big brother, little brother relationship, you know. But yeah, man, a lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him. And he's just one of those guys you're either going to like or you're not going to like. And, you know, we've always been close.
Man, I've always enjoyed Luke's work, and Luke's got a lot of connections in not only wrestling, but in the acting world as well. Because I mean, he's done a lot, and I've seen a lot of his work. I've actually been on a couple of, you know, film sets myself, and me and Brimstone was just talking about that the other night because he was telling me, you know, he's like, you've been on the set, you know what it's like. I've sat on a set to film a 2-minute scene, and I was there for 15 hours. So,
oh, you know. Yeah, no doubt. My first experience was with WWE. We did a commercial when they were doing the revamp of ECW, and it was a 16-hour day for, you know, like a 30-second commercial. But you know, again, I got to thank Luke for that opportunity. Not that particular one, but he got me a spot on that Ultraviolet Disney deal that was filmed in New Orleans. So yeah, man, he's well connected, you know, like you said, not just wrestling, but in the film and stunt world also.
Yeah, in the entertainment world. All right, Sam, Humpty Dumpty here has something to say. Mr. Steve, what's your thoughts? Now, we've already talked about Anthony Green, but I do want to say this. What about your match with Exodus Prime? Exodus Prime, I thought, is an exceptional talent as well. I think he's got a bright future too.
Yeah, you know, he was one of those guys, like I said, when I took my 3.5 year break, that kind of came out of nowhere. And you know, I saw a little bit of him, and I was like, man, it'd be cool to wrestle with this cat. And we hooked up, man. And again, he's just one of those guys that kind of clicked with.
Oh, most definitely. Steve Dixon has another one. Let's see. What are some of your favorite promotions you've enjoyed working for? You know.
Oh man, look, of course, I guess we'll kind of start, you know, the WWE's, the New Japan's, Pro Wrestling Noah, WLW, BIW, Wildcat, Elite, whenever we were running strong here in Louisiana. Man, so that's the thing, you know, like I told you, I took that 3.5 year break because I just got so burnt out, so bitter. But to answer that question, anywhere I wrestle now, I'm just happy to be there. Like, I don't know, I got a newfound love, I guess, for wrestling again. And like, I'm having fun, you know, but I'm also going to be that guy, and I'll let it know that if I don't like something, I'm going to say something. And if I say something, it only means I'm trying to help you, and I give a crap about you, because if I didn't, I wouldn't say shit. But, you know, I'm enjoying wrestling again. I really am. I'm having fun. You know, it's fun again, man.
All right, man, I'm going to just say this. You know, you talk about you took a 3-year hiatus. That's what I call it, a hiatus. I don't call it retirement.
No.
But my thing is, I took a 9-month hiatus. I bought a company. My mother got sick. I had to sell. I sold it. They sold it again, so it's under a different name. But anyway, I was gone for 9 months. I didn't want to come back. I had somebody nagging at me, "Hey man, why don't you try coming back? No rush, but just when you come back, I was like, yeah. And about March, I decided, it's time for me to come back. And I got there, and I won't forget it because I was just like, ain't nobody gonna remember me. Nobody cares. And I remember sitting in the back, and nobody knew I was there. Not even the guys in the back really knew I was coming. And I remember after intermission, my music just hit. It wasn't like, not even the ring announcer. The ring announcer was sitting in there ready to announce the next match, and then my music hit. And I heard the pop. And I was just like, wow.
There we go.
Oh, you got me? Can you hear me?
I got you. Yep.
All right. So when I came back, I was like, sitting in the back, and then my music hit, and I heard the pop, and I was just like, oh, wow. I said, I can't believe they cheered. And then it died down because we had done it before where my music had hit, and then I didn't come out. And I heard it die down a little bit. And as soon as I walked through that curtain, and I don't know how you feel when you walk through the curtain sometimes, but like that adrenaline is pumping so hard. And when they was cheering me, somebody they're supposed to hate, and they were cheering me, I just ripped my sunglasses off and just threw them up, broke my sunglasses, brand new. I didn't care. And there's Suge White. That's another great talent that I've been watching. But I threw my sunglasses everywhere, and I was just like that. And then as soon as I got in the ring, they were cheering me. Oh, we're glad to see you back, Baba. And then I had to go to my favorite line. Oh, you backwoods hillbilly trailer park trash. And then they booed me, and I was like, all right, I'm back. I feel comfortable now. So.
That's the high, right? That's what we're all searching for, man. That's why we keep coming back. But it also shows you how much of an impact you can really make on people, That's why, when we first started off and we were talking about the whizzing on the face thing, that's you make an impact, believe it or not, now, just imagine, you took your kid to see wrestling, and that's what they got. And then the next thing you get is a phone call from the school. Hey, little Johnny just got in a fight in the bathroom and peed on this dude's face, but and says he saw it because you guys took him to a wrestling show. Yeah, right? No. Come on, man. We're better than that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say we're examples for kids. And also my thing is this, and I think you'll agree with me on this. Fans are the most important thing in wrestling.
No fans, no wrestlers.
So when you go out there, you want to give them the best show you can. You want to make sure that they enjoy what they're seeing. And it's like you say, there's steps to it. That opening match, that's supposed to set the tone for the night. But that main event, that's what people are there for.
Yep, exactly. That's the two most important matches of the night. Not saying that every match isn't important, but those matches are what make your show, right? The first match is the first thing they see out the gate, right? So if it's bad, they're expecting bad all night. But, you start off with something good, something hot, get them into it, and you just build from that.
Exactly. Brandon was definitely one of the main ones I came to see. He gave a lot of fans hell. Well, thank you, Steve. But that's just like, we talk about, giving the fans what they want. The main event is it. Let's just go back to a prime example, WrestleMania 3. Everybody was there to see Hogan Andre. But match of the night was Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage.
Right. It's once again, you knew Hogan and Andre wasn't going out and do what those guys did.
Hold on, you froze up again. Hold on, Steve froze up. We're going to get right back to Steve in just a second. So here he is. Yep, he's back.
Okay.
You're good, man. Hey, I had the weather Monday night. We had tornadoes drop out of nowhere. So I know with bad weather.
Man, it's thunder and lightning. It's pretty nasty here. But like I was saying, Steamboat and Savage knew what they can go out and do because they knew Hogan and Andre wasn't going to do that. They were going to do exactly what they did. So they wasn't taking anything away from those guys.
Exactly, because when you looked at it, Hogan and Andre was an attraction. That's the way I look at it. And a lot of people can crap on Hogan. They can shit on him all they want. I'm not a Hulk Hogan fan. I was never a Hulkamaniac. I did like him when he was with the NWO. He was marketable, but a lot of people don't realize how good of a wrestler he really was. Like
Oh man,
taking it back
go,
to Japan.
yeah, go and watch him and Muda stuff in Japan. Yeah, and you'll look. He did what he needed to do, right? What he was paid to do. He did a hell of a job at it.
He made it mainstream at some point. You know, I mean,
Yep.
you look at it, a lot of people want to argue with me. I was an NWA fan, and I'm not taking this like this is not my opinion. I'm just stating facts when I say this. I'm an NWA fan. I grew up on NWA. That's what my grandfather watched. That's what I watched. I remember watching Sting and Flair and that. But Vince McMahon was a promoter. He was one of the greatest promoters, no matter what your feelings are on him. The thing is, he brought wrestling mainstream, and Hulk Hogan was the star. You can look at it and say he was a cartoonish character. He was this and that. That's fine. You can say that stuff. But the problem is, Hogan, McMahon drew money in the 80s. The 80s were the golden age. And you can ask Jake Roberts. You could ask, Brian Blair, for all that matter. They all made money because Hogan made money.
That's right. That's right. And look, the name of the game is 18 inches, an ass every 18 inches in the building, right? And that's what it is. But that doesn't mean, you can just go out and entertain the fans in a bad way, as we were talking earlier. But, it's all about entertaining the fans, and what draws money. And it's
the presentation.
It's not, sadly to say, yes, it's wrestling, but it's not always the best wrestlers that draw the money and get those top spots. It's really not. It's more than just wrestling. You got to be able to connect with the audience. Yeah, wrestling helps. We're in the ring. We're telling stories with our bodies through wrestling, but it's more than that, man. It's can a guy interview? What does he have? Can he connect with the people? Where's the charisma? It's so much more than just wrestling.
It really is.
Hogan fell into that category.
He did, but it's like we was talking. He could wrestle. He just didn't have to wrestle in WWE.
Oh.
Yeah, and if you look at stuff like that, and we're gonna start closing down here in just a second because I know the weather's bad, and because like I said, we got tornado warnings on Memorial Day. It was like 4:00. I went to pick up my wife from work because we was gonna go out and go grab some barbecue, and like it was 4:00. At 4:15, it turned dark, and then they were like the tornado sirens were going off, and I was like.
Yeah, we're just about in that hour here where we're fixing to start to get some of that nastiness too.
All right, man. Well, before we start to close out, I'm going to ask three things. I want you to give me a story about John Saxon. The guy's great. I could talk to him 24 hours a day. He's great. And give me a thought on that, and then Jared McKenzie's got something to say. Oh
man, look, he helped me so much in the wrestling business, man. He, kind of we became road buddies together. He took me places that he didn't have to, got me bookings, and just much love and respect for him, man.
Yeah,
he knows. Look, he knows how I feel about him. It's just there's no words, really.
Yeah, I mean. As many times me and John's talked after we did the podcast and stuff, John's a great guy, and I enjoyed his work in the ring. I've enjoyed your work in the ring. Jarrett McKenzie says you always kill it out there. Your retirement with to face Vordell, I was so pumped because now I would get to see you in action, and you hadn't seen anybody in action until you see Steve Anthony. He's one of my favorites to watch, and we're going to get to my last question here in a minute, but I got to bring up another name. Vordell Walker, what's your thoughts with Vordell?
Vordell, look, he's another one, man. One of my closest friends, along with Saxon. Just we had our differences, but you know, he's always going to be one of my brothers. You know, there's you and you know this from being in business. You meet a lot of people, you're friends with a lot of people, but there's only a handful of guys, you know, if you're lucky that you'll truly make life friends. And those two guys have been, you know, I've got a few others, of course, you know, Josh being one, but he's one of those guys, man.
Well, there's very
I
few.
love him and I hate him.
Yeah. There's very few people you can call like brothers to yourself. I mean, like family members, and that's you know that's one thing that you learn in wrestling is that you know you got very few of them, you know, far in between that you can call family, but you got a lot of acquaintances. But next up, Monty Warbucks, one of my favorite people, somebody that I look up to, and anytime I need advice, I always hit him up because he's a great person. He's always going to hit me back.
Oh yeah, man. You know, when I first met Monty, he probably back then thought I was the biggest little prick because I was.
Monty's never said nothing bad about you in all the years,
and he probably hasn't. But just looking back on how I was at one time, man, we all go through those phases, right? Yeah. But dude, him and Calvin both, man, were just super nice guys, and all they wanted to do was just be there and wrestle. And you know, Monty's just a good dude, bro. He coaches kids. He's so involved in the community, man. He loves what he does. He loves wrestling. And just a good dude overall.
There's no better teacher in the world. If you want somebody teaching your kids, he's just
so passionate, right? Yeah.
He's got the values. He's passionate. He's not, he's not going to stir your kids wrong. He's going to have your kids on the right path. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep you here for just one more second.
No, you're good.
I went to a Stained and Breaking Benjamin concert, and this is going to be funny because I actually hit Monty up because nothing about wrestling even come up about this. So we go to a Stained and Breaking Benjamin concert. It's for me and my wife's. I'm gonna make sure I get the years right. 8-year anniversary? No, yeah, 8-year anniversary.
Watch that, you'll get in trouble. You better remember.
I hope she ain't watching. Well, she's not watching.
Yeah, but, me too. I said I accused her of being bald earlier.
I'm definitely sure if she'd already heard that, she'd have been in here on me saying I told you to say that. But anyway, so we went to a Stained and Breaking Benjamin concert, and my wife's a big time music fanatic. Like, you cannot pull nothing music wise over her. Like, she is just, I'm not talking about just one genre. She knows it all. And there's Calvin Rose. Speaking of Calvin, I love Calvin too, man. Steve is one of the best, bottom line. There ain't no doubt. Yeah. Ain't no doubt. There's nobody I've seen command much respect as you do. But look, so we went to the Breaking Benjamin concert. We're sitting there, and you know you're sitting by people you do not have a clue who are. And you're just sitting by my wife's on my side, my brother-in-law and his wife over here. And my wife puts me on the end because she don't want to be by somebody she don't know. And me and this guy start talking. He's like, do you know who these bands are? I said, nah, I really don't. I saw their music. And we started talking. I was talking about wrestling for just a second. I just brought it up like, yeah, I love wrestling. I like wrestling music. Blah, blah. He laughed. He said, yeah, my PE teacher used to be a wrestler. I said, or is still a wrestler. I said, who's your PE teacher? Jason Souls? And he goes, how did you know that? I said, was it really? And he's like, yeah. And he's a great guy. This kid's probably, in his 30s, 32, whatever. And I'm like, I cannot believe this. And I message him right there. I'm like, and he starts like, he said, I remember that kid. I said, yeah.
I guarantee he did too. Yeah.
And he started telling about it. I showed the kid. The kid was like, oh my God, he does remember us. And he was looking at his wife. And she goes, I was in the gym class time. I was like, oh my God. And it was just funny that anytime I go somewhere, especially in Mississippi, his name comes up. And I'm just like, He's just a great guy. He's a great teacher. Next up and last name before I ask my last question is Joe Kane. What's your thoughts on Joe?
Man, me, another guy I go back many, many years with. For a long time, we were very close. And, just like I was saying, in wrestling, it seems like when you're together a lot, you're close, and then you kind of go separate ways and you don't really talk to people. But I actually just had a match with old Joe Kane here a few months ago. So yeah, it was good just to catch up. But man, look, we all have times where we love each other, and there's times where we really don't care for each other so much. But I've learned to be bigger than that, just to kind of let things go. And life's too short to hold grudges, right? So yeah, man,
it really is.
Joe, another really good guy, bro, in the ring and personally too.
Yeah, I like Joe. I'm gonna just say this. Here's my thing. And I heard Triple H say this back a long time ago, and I know who he is talking about. I think it was like 2003. He says, there's that big brother you don't like, but you have to have. And he was talking about Booker T, because that was the year that he took on Booker T at WrestleMania. And he was talking about him. He's like, you may not like him, but the thing about it is you don't have to like somebody to respect them.
No, yeah.
And stuff like that. And there's a lot of guys that I look at and people will say, well, he's an asshole. He's not been an asshole to me, like we talked about earlier. I've always had a good relationship with a lot of guys, and I try to have that good relationship. Try not to ruffle any feathers, and I do ruffle a lot of feathers because I got a big mouth, but that's what I do. But I've always respected you. I've always thought you were one of the top talents, if not the top talent, because you can, like I said, look at you now. You're still killing it. You started in 91. We're in 2025. Okay? And you haven't missed a beat. That Anthony Green match, I would put up against any main event on the independent scene anywhere.
Thank you.
Just y'all killed it. But it's just like any match. You could have a match with a broomstick. Not talking about Kenny Omega either. But you can have a match with a broomstick and make it interesting. That's just what it's about you. You talked about you were shy. You were this. But you know how to put it on in front of the camera. And in front of the audience. That's what matters. I've always looked up to Joe Kane as well. I've been watching Joe since I was a kid. I think the first time I saw Joe, I was probably 12 years old. Always watched Joe, and I've always enjoyed his old style work.
Yeah,
and Vordell, just absolutely brilliant. And there's a lot of other talent. Vladimir Klov has just evolved to one of my favorites. Even though he's my client, I've always backed Vladimir and Ray. There's just several talents. But here's my last question. The one that's just itched me for so long and bothered me for so long is, how the hell did Steve Anthony not get signed to a major company? That I gotta know.
Yeah, I'd like to know too. I don't know, man. It's so hard to answer. I'm sure politics plays part of it. I've never been one to sell my soul. I am who I am, and I'm not gonna be something you want me to be just to get a job. You know what I'm saying? That's just not me. And it's always been about my family first. No matter what the character was like at any given time, me as a person, it's always been about my family. And if I felt it wasn't a good decision for my family and it could hurt, I just wasn't doing it, whether it was taking a job somewhere or whatever. But, I've been fortunate. Yeah, I've never had that big contract and made that big money. But, man, I've done so much in my career and worked with so many guys, my payoff is when I have a guy, an Arn Anderson, tell me, hey kid, you got something. A Jake Roberts, hey kid, you got something. A Ricky Steamboat, and my God, a Harley Race, to give me his wrestling school to run, give me his world title, give me a spot in Japan. That was my payoff. Those were all guys that I grew up watching and admiring and wanting to be like. And when those guys tell you that you're one of the best, a piece of paper and money just it doesn't touch it, man. It really doesn't. Yeah, it'd have been nice, but at the same time, I wouldn't have raised my kids. I wouldn't have been here for my wife. Who knows where I'd end up. You've seen the horror stories. And look, I've been there, and I'm going to be honest. The times that I was going, I watched those guys walk around miserable and hating life, and I didn't want to be like that.
God, I respect that. And John Saxon says it best. Southern boys, we won't sell our souls for money.
That's it, bro. I have morals, I have faith, and I have my beliefs, and you're not taking that away from me. And
Steve, I'm going to just say this. You've always been one of my favorites, and I've always enjoyed it. Like anytime you're in the ring. And I think that right there is more special than anything.
No, thank you, man. But it's real. That's just who I am.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I look at it as blessed because I got to see Steve Anthony wrestle. Maybe the whole world didn't. Like, we're not sitting here watching the Hogan or something. But my thing is, like I'm saying, this is our prized possession here in the South is we got Steve Anthony. We got Bordeaux Walker. We had John Saxton. And we got other up-and-coming stars coming that we get to see. And because I look at it this way. Florida, Georgia, well, not so much Georgia. Let's say Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee. We get to see some of the greatest talent in the world. And I don't think that part of the South gets enough acknowledgement on it. I really don't.
No, man. If you took the guys from that whole area that you just said and you put them in an organization, you can compete with the WWEs, the MLWs, the TNAs, NXTs, everything. I'm telling you. People don't realize how much talent sits right here in the South. It's crazy, man.
It really is. And Steve, thank you for taking time out of your day. Come on here.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Always. If you'll give me a few seconds, I want to give you a 30-second goodbye after we get off the air. But tomorrow night, we got Suge White. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see you tomorrow night, Steve. Once again, is there anything you want to plug before we get out here? Because the floor is yours.
Man, look, if you're a fan and you're looking for some wrestling, this Saturday, Lafayette, Louisiana, Cajun Dome Expo Center, LWA Wrestling, a big it's a big fan fest. One Man Gang's part of it. Lynn Ditton, the original grappler, Jay Lethal, and they'll be live wrestling that night as we go into round 2 of the LWA Heavyweight Championship Tournament.
Yeah, I forgot that is the second round, isn't it?
Yep. And then if that's a little far from you and you're more toward the east, June 21st, XIW Wrestling. We're in Panama City. And then here in a couple of weeks, June 7th, BIW, Brookhaven, Mississippi, dog collar match. Myself and King Rob, the Queen wannabe King Rob Love, and myself in a dog collar match.
And if I can make it, I'm going to try to make it over there for that show. Nick Wonder said, great show. Thank you, Nick. Another great talent around this area as well. But thank you, Steve, for coming on. I appreciate it. I hope we can get you back on sometime soon.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Lights blaze bright, it's a glorious sight. the champ of the mic owns the night. With a mind so slick and a suit so clean, he's running this ring like a wrestling machine. From gold-plated deals to jaw-dropping schemes,